Let's take a look at the TechDoc module of Formwork and how it can actually help you automate a lot of your technical documentation, which is a huge chunk in your medical device documentation. All right, so you probably have been in the eQMS section in the past because that's what's accessible in the free Formwork version. And now you might be wondering what the TechDoc section is all about. So maybe in short, the eQMS section is, well, as the name says, about your quality management system, which is something which is company-wide. So this applies to your entire company. And if you need to get audited by an auditor, you only need to get audited, well, once as a company with surveillance audits every year, which sucks a bit. But you only need to do it once for your company. That's like important to know, regardless of how many products you create. Your technical documentation on the other side, what we're going to look at next, is something you're going to do each time for every new product you bring to market. So if you bring 2 products to market, you have to create 2 separate sets of technical documentation. And now when we navigate to the TechDoc section, you can see how it looks. It's kind of really cool because it has all the sections the relevant standards require you to document. So for the IEC 62304, which is the standard for software development, we have something called software requirements and software tests. By the way, in new projects, these are named differently. These are named design inputs and system tests. For the risk management standard, we have all these like risk entries, and for usability, we have these usability entries. I'll just show you like based on one example how it looks like, and then you probably have already understood most of the other things too. So the typical way how you document software requirements is in a table in a spreadsheet. And that sucks a lot because you have to link your software requirements to many other different things. So for example, to software tests and to risks. In Formwork, this is solved in a much more efficient way. So you click on software requirements, and then you can create new software requirements by filling out a form. And the form actually helps you a lot because it tells you exactly what you need to document for a software requirement. It also gives you these categories, which are exactly the categories mentioned in the standard. So it really helps you to create a complete set of documentation in a really easy way. Also note, like if you create a software requirement, which it probably is equivalent to like a software feature. So for example, if you're doing a COVID screening application, you could say a feature is analyze your heartbeat for COVID signs. In addition to that, Formwork also helps you link your software requirement to all these other things. So you can see, okay, apparently I have to link it to like stakeholder requirements. And then if I click here, I can actually select which stakeholder requirements to link it to. I have to link it to like failure modes, software tests, and risk controls. And for each of these things, I can simply click and select which things to link it to, which is much easier than doing it in a spreadsheet. And then when I'm done, I click save, and I end up with this list of things, which is the complete set of my software requirements. And likewise, I can document all the other things too. Maybe one thing like worth mentioning here is the risk table, which looks a bit different. So I have to actually switch to this other project to show you risk table, which looks really cool, but the general principle here is the same. So you create a new entry, and then you create something called the risk table entry. You get all these really cool drop downs, and then you get this really nice graphical representation of things, and then you're essentially done. Now, the biggest benefit of this is, well, firstly, it's super usable and it really guides you in doing your technical documentation, but that by itself might not be something you want to pay a lot of money for. But the actual biggest benefits are it saves you a lot of time. So how does it save you a lot of time? The first thing here is audit export. So the audit export feature, it actually generates spreadsheets based on the data you entered here on the left side. It generates spreadsheets which have the exact format which auditors expect, which by the way is a bit different than the format we just looked at, which was just the graphical representation in the software. Here you actually end up with actual spreadsheets files, which you literally can hand in to your auditors right away, and you don't have to edit spreadsheets manually anymore. So that's like the first thing, and I think it's really, really huge, because just by filling out like these few forms we saw on the left side, we can automatically generate all these different spreadsheets, and all of these are kind of like things which are required from a regulatory standpoint, which you have to hand in. And many of these things are extremely tedious to do in a manual way. For example, the traceability matrix, where you would have to show which software requirement, if we look at the other project again, we would have to create a matrix showing which software requirement is tested by which software test, and then which software requirement causes which risks, and so on and so on. In Formwork, this is extremely easy because you just click these multiple select things, and then the spreadsheet will automatically be generated, which I think is really cool. The second aspect, which really saves you a lot of time, is versioning. So for every version of your, medical device which you bring to market, so the first version might be version 1, and then later you bring to market maybe version 1.1. For every version which you bring to market, you have to keep a separate copy of your technical documentation. So if you do this in spreadsheets, you will end up copy-pasting entire folders a lot every time, and it'll be a huge mess probably when you ship your third or fourth version, because you no longer know what you changed and why you changed it. And also, it's just a lot of work to copy-paste that many files. In Formwork, it's really cool because in Formwork, all of this is automated too. So you can see all the releases you have for your software on the left side. And then if I create a new release, Formwork just goes ahead and copy-pastes all the documentation I have into the new release. And I can even go back in history, and I can go back to this old version, for example, and look at the list of software requirements for this old version, which I think is really, really cool. So I can see for every entry, I can see what actually happened in this version. Was it like modified, or was it added, or did nothing happen to it at all? In this case, a lot of things were actually added. And that's really, really cool. And all of that can be added to the audit export too. So I think that's really, really exciting. That's where it really saves a lot of time. So I think the technical documentation module is really, for me personally, it's a must-have if you're a manufacturer who also manufactures their own devices. So if you're only a random company which needs a quality management system, you obviously don't need this. But if you're actually considering bringing a medical device to market, building your own product as a manufacturer, then I would really recommend the TechDoc module. If you're still unsure, reach out. You can click on the support link at the bottom to send me a message or send our team a message, and we'll be in touch. If you'd like to actually have a free trial, you can also click on the support button, reach out, and just say like, hey, we want to try this out for 10 days or maybe even 2 weeks. And it's free of charge. There are absolutely no commitments. So I think it's a really, really cool thing. Great. All right. So if you have any questions, let me know. But other than that, enjoy using the TechDoc module.